Okay, well, I just had the karma to do the retreat, that's all, you know. I think many times, especially when I had to do the ILTK retreat, it was really difficult. And even though I had better conditions, but the way I could keep going is I would think, whoever I was in my past life, I created the cause for this life. So I just have to keep going. Because in this life, I'm nothing special, you know, I'm just like you, all the rest of you. I just had karma to do retreat, you know, that's all. So don't think, you know, I'm anything any different than you. I'm not. I still have the same mind. But I do have a little more experience in meditation, so maybe that's why maybe that's why I'm here, you know. But so when we got together a few days ago to talk about what we do this morning, we decided that we're very fortunate to have Olivier here too, because he's studied a lot, and he's also has interesting karma this life, so he can explain things well. And so he did that with Tantra, and I asked him again, I think tomorrow at 11:30, I asked him also to go over the Bodhisattva vows and the refuge precepts for people who don't know, who are coming for the first time, or people who want to review. It's important to know what we're getting into for the retreat. So Olivier offered, he said, okay, he'll do that. And also we have some information from Tom Trudy, who does the FPMT education office, where you can download extra materials on the Bodhisattva vows and refuge. So we will provide that for you. It's just on my phone right now, but I'll give it. I'm not sure how we disseminate information, but we'll give that to you as well, so that you feel supported in these vows and refuge, because it is very important to know what they are, and as much as possible work with them throughout the day, you know. So we have these 2 mornings, and so I thought that maybe I could just introduce some basic ideas about retreat, and some go through the sadhana longer, slowly, more experientially, because when we get to starting the actual retreat, we'll just be going boom, 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 boom to the sadhana. So I think that you know, our precious holy Jetsun Lama Yeshe, who really, it's the reason that I did those retreats, was I was so inspired by Lama Yeshe. Because Lama's whole thing was to get the experience. Although Lama was a really great geshe. Actually, he could have been a geshe, but he never took the exam because he thought it was politics. Because it cost a lot of money to become a geshe. And he said, and anyway, geshe yeshi, ha 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 ha, you know. But Lama was a great geshe. And there's one story about Lama, that one time there was a gathering in I guess it was Dharamsala, or maybe it was before, I don't know when it was, but it was all the monks of all the monasteries, and His Holiness was giving a teaching. And I might not have the story exactly correct, so some older student can correct me. But His Holiness, there was something, okay, do you want to tell the story? I'll tell it, then you correct me if I'm wrong. So His Holiness was, there was some question His Holiness had in the text. And he was asking all the geshes, you know, what's the problem here? What's wrong with this line in the text? And so different people were raising their hands saying, I think it's this, I think it's this. And Lama stood up and he said, the text is wrong. So it takes a lot of not only learning, but great confidence to be able to say that the actual text was mistaken. So this is how well Lama knew the Dharma. He knew everything. But when he taught, it was very, very simple. He just had distilled the essence. And when he spoke about bodhicitta, you just, wow, felt, bodhicitta. And when he talked about refuge, your mind was just completely there. And his main thing was Mahamudra. Lama always, no matter what he taught, it was always the nature of mind. Because that's where Lama was, And Lama was such a realized yogi that just coming, he'd be sitting here, and maybe you were over at the coffee shop, but you could feel Lama, his bliss. Lama was so blissful because he had, realized everything. And the other stories about Lama was, in the nighttime, Lama would leave different books out around the place, because at night he would manifest different bodies and study. Lama was totally amazing. And it's due to the kindness of Lama Yeshe that, Massimo, and now we have this place, and now we have these people, and and it's why I did those retreats, I was just really inspired by Lama, because he made it seem like enlightenment is possible. Because in Lama's presence, you got a taste of Mahamudra. And once you get the taste of Mahamudra, once you get the taste of a mind that is without delusion, the mind, and also a mind full of love, non-conceptual love and bliss and emptiness, then you have no choice, but you want it, I've got to get it. It's better than anything in samsara. And so this was the beauty of Lama Yeshe. He gave us this taste, the taste of the chocolate, they said, So as much as we can in this retreat, I know the retreat is about saying the mantras and, going through the sadhana, but we also don't want to forget to taste the chocolate. So what I'd like to do in the next, 2 mornings, we don't have a lot of time, is just give you a few little hints and practices and background information that I have learned from my gurus that will help you as we go through the sadhana, so that it's not just blah, 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 And also, when you recite mantra recitation, maybe a few hints about how to recite the mantra so that it is something meaningful for you, So, because as Rinpoche said, we are extremely fortunate to be here. I've never been to a Mani retreat, so you have to be a little patient with me. I've never led a retreat like this or done a retreat like this. But it's because Venerable Connie invited me to the Master's Program. After the second Master's Program, she asked me to come here and give a course on how to do retreat for the Master's Program, and I guess they really enjoyed it, so now I'm back. So we can thank Connie, because she knew me from California. And so I'm grateful to her, because I get the opportunity to do a retreat too. So I guess, the main thing, if you talk to Rinpoche about retreat, is it's actually the time that we get to turn away from our normal everyday activity and focus just on ourselves and our practice. And it's not for any selfish reason, but I've always thought it's sort of like, a doctor. You have to go to school, you have to train, you have to practice anything. A musician has to practice many hours, an artist has to practice many hours. Because when we're out in the world, we're just doing it. We're just playing the music, we're just doing the painting. But it's nice to take a little time out just to be able to bring the practice in to the feeling of putting the blame onto oneself and meditating on the kindness of all. Because, that really is the heart of how we need to behave in the world. And we all have the experience of, saying the prayers saying the 8 verses. I'll always see myself the lowest of all. I'll always offer the victory. I'll always, put the blame on myself. But as soon as someone gets in your face, it's gone. You just, comes out. And part of that is because we haven't trained in a stable, quiet space where there is space between our thoughts. And so I know there's a big emphasis in FPMT on study, and I personally feel that there's not enough emphasis on just plain shamatha practice. And I know it is emphasized in the Kagyus and the Nyingmas more. And I cherish my Gelugpa tradition. I really do, because the teachings that we get are just, Lama Tsongkhapa is totally amazing. But at the same time, I feel that our education is somewhat lacking because we don't emphasize enough just sitting and being with the mind and being able to pay attention to that gap between the thoughts and expanding in that gap and relaxing into that gap so that when someone's in your face, there's a little gap. And you don't have to just immediately, jump into, and just always the thing about, and this is something that Lama taught, awareness, presence, the things we hear from other traditions, we need that too. We need that too. And so that's what I feel retreat time is for that, because the rest of the time we're pretty busy. So if we can build that up, Lama used to say we should do retreat for 1 month a year to recharge the batteries. So I really encourage you to think about that, to try to encourage your life so you can take time out. And I know in this day and age it's even more difficult. So I better not talk too much. But there are just a few just practical things we need to talk about, I thought we'd do first. The first thing is about silence. And, part of the thing about these FPMT retreats is that many of us are old friends. We've been around for 40 years now, or 35 years, and you come here and we see our old friends, and it's a big social gathering as well. So it's not the same as a solitary retreat. And so I think it's important to maintain our social relationships because, sometimes there's people who I haven't seen in 30 years. So of course I want to see them, and talk to them. Hello, how are you, What happened to you? You're still here, isn't that wonderful? But at the same time, we need to balance that with the fact that we're in retreat, So we appreciate it. I think for me, the lunch tent was so noisy I couldn't stay in there yesterday because it's just, because it's that there's no acoustics there. So I think probably it's better if, anyway, Rinpoche already said, and it's general for FPMT retreats, that we keep silence in the Gompa. I know it's really hard for me too, Keep silence in the Gompa. We can go outside to talk. And then we will keep silence in the evening, after the evening session, until after you eat your lunch. And I know lunch is usually a social time, but a lot of the path, the way we did it, was the first half hour was silence. And silence until you finish eating your food. And the other reason for that is that this is a deity yoga retreat, and I'll get into that in a minute, but there's practices when you do deity yoga. The idea is you're not just the deity when you recite the mantra, but you're the deity 24 hours a day. So, and of course the deity arises out of emptiness. So really to do deity yoga, we should be experiencing emptiness all the time. But none of us really do that. Maybe some of you do, but we do the best we can. But there are practices to remind us, like there's an eating practice. And I might as well tell you now. We can do a very simple eating practice where we can visualize, either you can visualize the Guru at your heart, or Chenrezig at your heart. I will just one, not the 1,000 arm, but one face, 4 arms, and know that Chenrezig is the guru. The main thing with deity yoga is the guru is the deity, is myself, is emptiness. All these all together in one experience. So as you're eating, you think, you're eating on myself from the deity, and as you chew your food, the food turns into incredible, great bliss. Well, here in Kriya Tantra, it's called the great profundity, but we can still think great bliss and emptiness, and it's nectar. You chew your food, so you chew your food well, and it turns into nectar, and it goes down and it feeds the Chenrezig at your heart. And then from there, the explosion of the experience of the deity, of wisdom and compassion, goes throughout your whole body with every time you swallow. And so you just do the best you can, You don't necessarily do it every time you swallow, because your mind's going everywhere. But if it's your goal, you come back to that. And so we'll have silence in breakfast, and silence and lunch. And dinner, it's okay. You can visit with your friends. Precepts, we spoke to Rinpoche a couple days ago, and we'll do precepts the last 2 weeks of the retreat. But if you'd like to take precepts yourself, because the food will already be precept food, then you just do it in your room in the morning. And I need my retreat book. The other thing is, let's see. I guess everyone knows where the bathrooms are by now. The other thing is, I'm requesting personally to turn off your cell phones, your mobile phones. I noticed at Light on the Path, people were texting while Rinpoche was talking. People were doing this, And I think personally, I find that kind of disrespectful. So, there's plenty other times to communicate with your friends than when you're in this room. So, please just forget about your mobile phones. We're adults, we're not children, we don't need to be doing that. And it's just a request, because it's distracting to me if the person next to me is, using their phone, especially when Rinpoche is talking, So that's a request from me. And I think a lot of people feel that way. So, and by request, I will lead about a half an hour of Qigong exercises after the second session at 11:30. We have, because lunch isn't until 12:30? So, sorry. sorry. I'm sorry I don't have the schedule with me. Does anyone have the schedule? Lunch is at 12:30? Yeah. So I think if you're taking precepts, you just have to put that extra clause in your precepts that, I'm not going to eat until after 1 o'clock instead of 12 o'clock. It's okay. You can do like that. Yeah, it's summertime anyway, so it's fast. It's forward an hour. Yeah, precepts, morning prayers. Qigong will be at 11:30, just half hour. And a lot of people say that it helps a lot with the body. One of the things that we learn in Tantra is that the mind rides on the winds. And so if we work from both angles, if we try to work with the body as well as the mind, you'll find it's very surprising that when you calm down the winds, physically, the mind's very relaxed. So I've, having to deal with my mind for, long periods of time by myself, I've really valued doing physical exercises. Going for walks is really helpful, because what happens is, because the mind rides on the winds, it's all you can get very intellectual and caught up, and then you can't you can't use an agitated mind to unagitate a mind. It just doesn't work, you know. And breathing is nice, but breathing isn't often enough. So most of these Qigong exercises are based on acupuncture. And so the acupuncture meridians, once you balance the acupuncture meridians, then your mind is stable. Because we know from Chinese medicine and Ayurvedic medicine that all of our emotions are connected to our organs. And so when we purify the organs, the emotions naturally calm down. And so, you know, I recommend coming to Qigong if you want to have a more relaxed mind during your retreat. And also knees hurting less, back hurting less. It's helpful. But it's not required. It's just a good idea. So then the other thing is about the retreat. Just right out here. So bring a hat if you don't like sun. So we'll just finish the session and just walk out and do Qigong and just right from the session. So, you know, be bathroom break. And then, generally, I guess, I haven't done a lot of retreats with Rinpoche, but I have done a lot on the path. I mean, in the long time ago I did retreats with Rinpoche, but in the last 20 years I haven't been in a lot of retreats with Rinpoche. But now we have this wonderful retreat book that the FPMT Education Department, Mary and Connie and all kinds of people, John, put together. And so there are these daily practices that we generally do in the morning. So we first had the schedule starting at 5 o'clock in the morning so we could do these daily practices. But Rinpoche said, no, we can start later. We'll start at 6 with Lama Chopa, which Jamyang will be being Omze for that. And so what Rinpoche said is that people can do them in their room. So, because you can do it faster in your room. It's optional, you don't have to do it. I do highly recommend, though, the blessing of the speech. It's a very good practice to do. And the mantras. But it actually doesn't take very long. And I find that, I mean, for me, at the last light on the path, my favorite part of the day, really, and besides Rinpoche's teachings, was those very first prayers that Rinpoche put together. They're on page 11 of the book, the retreat book. Because Rinpoche's he's gleaned different prayers from different sutras and different practices, and it's just really inspiring. I think Celiana agreed, you know, we just love doing those prayers in the morning. And so I'm a little bit sad we're not doing them, but I encourage you to read them. You know, and maybe if you can't get up and do them at 5:30 in the morning, you can do them after lunch or something, because they're really inspiring prayers. And it doesn't take long to read them yourself if you aren't reciting with the group. And maybe not today, but maybe tomorrow, or we can, as a group, I'll go over blessing the speech with you. So those of you who are new, who don't know this practice, it's good to do it. Be taught a little bit how to do it with the group at one time, because I mean Rinpoche's been telling us to do this for, I don't know, many, many years now, like 30 years he's been, you know. So for me, you know, when I wake up in the morning, I just do this automatically. So it's good to learn it and just do it when you wake up. And, you know, I don't have all those daily prayers memorized, but at least the essence, you know, when you wake up first thing in the morning, the first thought, you know, you think, well, first you just relax a little bit, let your dreams come, but you think, you know, my life is to benefit sentient beings. That's how you do retreat. My life is for sentient beings. I didn't die, you know. Life is very short. Today could be my very last day. I must live my life as if today is the last day. Because you never know when you could be hit by a car. Or Tom Petty just died. Did you hear that? Or maybe you don't know Tom Petty. He just died, bam. He's only 65 or something, you know. He's a rock and roll star. He just dead, just like that, you know. It can happen. You don't have to be old. Some people get heart attacks at 40, you know. So death and impermanence is no joke, you know. And I don't know how much we'll go over that here, but it's really important in the morning to think, this could be my very last day, and how wonderful it is that I have a perfect human rebirth, So in the morning you think these things, and bless the speech, and then there are these mantras here on page 23, and that's enough. I think that's enough. If you go up through, page 11 to 26, you could do, because the rest is covered. And then when we start taking precepts, we'll have to come a little bit earlier for that. And then the other thing that we usually do in the mornings is the prostrations to the 35 Buddhas. Now this is another thing that Rinpoche really, really would like us to do every day. He emphasizes many times to memorize the 35 Buddhas practice. It doesn't take that long. I remember one time when Dreame was at, a different Dreame, was at Land of Calm Abiding. She was staying, she wasn't in strict retreat, and so I went into her retreat house, and she had huge letters of all the 35 Buddhas all around her room, so she could read them and memorize them as she did the 30, so by the time she finished her retreat, she had it memorized. So I really encourage you to memorize that and do that, because it really feels good too. I mean, these things, you don't just do them because in the beginning, maybe you think it's some discipline, but after a while, you realize how much better you feel when you do it, And so it can be even, although we're doing things for others, it also has to be for us. We are one of the others. And I think that that's also important to know that, I'll get to that in a minute, but the things that we do for others, when we get used to it, we find that's what makes us happy. It takes a little bit of shift, but after the shift comes, there's a period in Dharma practice when you first start practicing Dharma that it's uncomfortable. And because it's new, and as they say, and you're out of your comfort zone, it's not comfortable. But after a while, if you can have the faith, I think for me, when I have trouble, I always go back to the fact that I've been incredibly blessed to meet some amazing lamas, And so I always go back, well, these lamas are the most incredible human beings I've ever met in my entire life. They're definitely not normal human beings. We can all see that. So they say, if I do this, I can be like that. So okay, based on my experience of them, I can be out of my comfort zone enough to make new habits so that then Dharma becomes actually enjoyable. Because Dharma practice should be enjoyable. Retreat should be fun. Retreat should be, as my friend Roger would say, retreat is a one-person party. When you do solitary retreat, you have to make it a one-person party. Otherwise, it's just suffering, And of course it's suffering, because when you go, the other really great thing about retreat and why we keep silence is you are right here. All of your garbage mind is right in front of you, and you have no choice but to work with it. So, but you have to balance that. You have to balance all of your purification and suffering and hard work with some joy and fun. So even in this retreat, it's kind of easy here because we have friends. We can just go blah, blah, and talk and be some. But anyway, it's just, it's always good to make it a good time. So I think that's enough about the daily morning prayer. So if you want to get up a little bit earlier and go from page... So that means you have to bring your retreat book back to your room. So page 11 to 26. If you can do that before you come in the morning or sometime, it's very good. And I didn't finish about 35 Buddhas. And if you want to do some prostrations, 35 Buddhas, you can. But because, as you can see, this Gompa is quite full. So we won't be able to do prostrations here, unfortunately. So what Rinpoche suggested is when Jamyang leads the Lama Chopa, before the confession prayer, we will just recite the 35 Buddhas. And so, I mean, I suppose if anyone wanted to go out in the grass, they could. But we'll just imagine that we're prostrating. So then if you like the exercise, I personally benefit from the exercise, then you can do it in your room, okay? So I think that's all the business. Any more business? Oh, also, I remember. There'll be a suggestion box in the back. So if there's something you're having trouble with, something you think would be better, then you can put it in the suggestion box. I understand there will be hot water out front, not tea, just hot water. Is that right? And Lisa's not here, but we should do a big applause to Elisa and Sultram and all the people that made this incredible Gompa. I mean, it's amazing what they did, you know? I don't think any of them are here. Maybe Sharon's here. But they worked really hard to put this together. And they were running around, you know, where's the ladder? Where's this? Oh, where's the picture of Lama Yeshe? Where we get the flower? You know, it wasn't easy to put all this together. And they did it in just a couple days before it all started. And it was so nice that there was one shop that had all these cyclamens. I mean, it's so nice. Rinpoche, you can kind of smell them up here, you know. So anyway, I think they did a really good job with the offerings. And there's also, I don't know if anyone's mentioned, but I don't know if it's been organized. Sharon, is it organized people to help?
There's a sign-up sheet right out here for people to sign up to do water bowl offerings.
Yeah, because every day at 1:30, is it?
About 1:45.
At 1:45 every day, we need about 10 people to change the water bowl offerings. And I think
We need about 14 people.
14 people to change the water bowl offerings, so it doesn't take so long. And I think the idea was every week we can change a different, so it's just 1 week. You sign up for 1 week and then somebody else the next week. And, you know, there's a lot of benefit to helping. So if you want to help, please sign up. And Sharon, are you the one who's coordinating or?
Well, with Ruth. Ruth is coordinating it and I'm helping her.
Yeah, so maybe stand up. Sharon, people can see you.
If you have questions about the water bowl offerings, I'm happy to
Yeah.
answer those or get the answer for you.
Sharon's a volunteer. She's also from the West Coast of the United States. Not too many of us here. Yeah, what else? I think that's all and I don't know, I mean, I haven't heard yet if there's someone who's giving announcements about different things, but I'm just assuming someone will tell me. Yeah. Okay, yeah, I guess it'll be like that. I don't know who's doing that, but we'll figure out if there's extra teachings or things. At the Light of the Path, we had some kind of box that was on the internet that Tom Trudy's not here, so I don't know who's doing that yet. But they will hopefully we'll get that sorted out. I don't know. And if there's information, then you can be able to access it. I will talk to Elisa about that, because oh, yeah, and we also need to do that. But I think I need to say something. Okay, we all have a card to count the mantras. So I don't know how many of you have never counted before. But I mean, I've been at some retreats, people didn't really know, I mean, how it works. So I better explain, you know. Does everyone have a mala? Because if you don't have a mala, you need to get a mala. No, really, you have to. I know some people that we did a Hayagriva retreat and they didn't know how to use a mala, you know. So, you know, here's a little mala. So every time you say Om Mani Padme Hum, you count one V. Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, like that, right? And so when you go all the way around, you count one. And there's many ways you can have counters, you know, on your malas. I know Renee Fusi has 7 rice grains. So every time you have 10, it's sort of like a Chinese abacus. You have 10 over here, You move one over, you move one over, you move one over, so you have 10, and then you have a way to count. Or you can have a piece of paper and you go chick, 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 chick like that and cross 5. But you have to make up, because it's important we count. You know, I don't have any counters on my malas, but some people, they have the malas with the counters. So one's for 10s, one's for 100s. So every session you should record how many you counted, and don't forget sometimes, you know, I mean, I have a bad habit, I count on my fingers, you know. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, and you can't hear? What? Question. Okay. Question?
No.
What?
You have to repeat it if people ask.
Oh, Sarah's just helping, just giving me some advice. It's not a question. I'm repeating what she's saying.
But there is a site, I know, where you can put your
On
not the thousand, but the real number of mantras. It is written on the program of the money retreat online. It tells all how to count it out, upload your numbers.
Okay. Fabrizio is saying that if you go to the... sorry. Massimo. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I wasn't thinking. It is a huge mistake. Massimo... Massimo is saying that there's a place on the website where it tells you how to count and how to upload your count. But you might not want to do that every day, so I'm just saying keep a count yourself here in the Gompa. Yeah, and the card. Yeah. Yeah, maybe hold it. I meant to bring mine up. Mine's right there. Everybody has a little card that tells you where to write, how to record your mantras. So you can keep that card. I think it's just every day, though. It's not every session. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's better. Wait. Yeah. Let Celia. Okay, Celiana's going to explain.
So everybody has this card, and then you have to count the number of mantras that every week you can go online, and according with your name, you put the number of mantras that you repeat, and this will be added at the end. So it will be easier to do this online, because in this automatically they be added. Okay. So in this card you just keep for your record, and then weekly you can go online and put the numbers.
And it's good that we do every week, because then we know how many we're counting.
Exactly.
Yeah. Wait, give it Sarah microphone. Are you finished, Celiana? Yeah.
So it's important to know that the mantras that you are counting are only the ones that are done on the basis of the sadhana in the session. So last time when we did this in Virgigini, some people wanted to do 1 million money, right? So if you want to count that as a retreat with 1 million, you have to come to every single session once we start. And all those mantras you count must be done within the session. So it's not when you're walking around, it's not lunchtime, it's not break time. The only mantras are during the session, okay, that are counted. And you can do mantras other times. But the other thing to know is periodically Rinpoche will want to check how far we're getting, because we do want to do 100 million at least. So it could be that after a few days, Rinpoche says, how many have you done? And then if it looks like we need more time for the sessions will be adjusted and they'll be lengthened so that we can reach the goal. And if it looks like we're quite comfortably going to reach the goal, the sessions can be kept as they are. So there is a process. We need to kind of monitor it, because we do want to do the 100 million. We don't want to have 100 million money retreat and not complete 100 million, you see. So there is a kind of a process. You do need to keep track.
Okay, so we have Lama Chopa's. Oh, sorry, someone else has something to say?
What does it mean with this weekly? When is the deadline to put in the mantras for the week?
Good idea. Like what day? Saturday? Sabato.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, don't wait till the end because we need to keep an update. Yeah. So, okay, I think that's all the technical information, and I'll just tell you a little bit about how the session. So the morning session is Lama Chopa, and Rinpoche said to alternate Tibetan and English, and so when it's in English, you just do in your own language, and because the loudspeaker is set up for the English-speaking people were not told to bring a radio, so we have to do it this way. So, but still, I encourage you to do the Lama Chopa in the language that touches your heart, you know. We do it in Tibetan because Rinpoche and a lot of people like the beautiful chanting. But both Rinpoche and Lama will all say, you know, you need to know what you're saying, otherwise there's no point. So for me, sometimes I admit I don't do it. I just do it in English and kind of listen to the chanting. But so it's okay if you do that. Some people have difficulty with the Tibetan chanting. So if you love it, great, go for it. But if it's something that's, you know, you can just sit and listen and meditate on your own language, what it means too. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. But and the reason why we do the chanting, and you'll feel it, is that the chants come from enlightened beings. There's power in the chanting. There's power in the tunes, and so Rinpoche, it's okay now. Where some of us we're making the tunes, keeping the same tunes in our own language. But until we do that, it's very important that we learn this music and do it in these Tibetan words because there's a blessing that comes. So that's why I'm saying, if it's difficult, at least just sit and listen because there is a blessing that comes. Yeah.
But I want to add something.
Well, add the microphone. Microphone, please.
Lama Chopa will be chanted in Tibetan very slowly. Mm-hmm. And underneath each phonetics, there is the translation. So it's very easy with the left eye to look at the translation and to visualize what the translation said. What's the problem? I mean, it's all there. Mm-hmm. And it will be so slow that you can definitely read the translation and visualize and really penetrate in the meaning by reading the line below. Okay?
Yeah,
simple.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm just saying that if the chanting's difficult for you, you can just listen and meditate on the meaning. Yeah. But anyway, so especially for new people, it's good. It's really good to know what it's about. And one day we can pray to have commentary on Lama Chopa, because Lama Chopa is a very, very blessed practice. It's written by Panchen Losang Choki Gyaltsen, who was soon in the Mahamudra lineage of Lama Tsongkhapa's ear-whispered lineage. And you see, a lot of people don't know that Lama Tsongkhapa actually had a yogi lineage, a Mahamudra lineage, that Gelugpa isn't just, learning the 5 treatises, but there's also an ear-whispered lineage of Mahamudra practice of great yogis. Lama Tsongkhapa himself spent many years in retreat. He did 3.5 million prostrations to the 35 Buddhas, something like 600 million mandal offerings. He and his few disciples, they lived on like 3 juniper berries a day as they did their intense practice. So Lama Tsongkhapa, we hear Lama Tsongkhapa, and we hear all this great scholar, but he was just as great a yogi as he was a scholar. And so the Lama Chopa is the heart of the yogi lineage. So it's really important for us to learn it and understand it, because it's where the Mahamudra practice lies. And the Mahamudra practice comes when the Guru enters the heart. At that point in the Lama Chopa, whatever experience you have of Guru entering the heart, of meditating emptiness, you do that at that time. You know, my mind, Guru's mind. My speech, Guru's speech. My body, Guru's body. And what is that? That is Dharmakaya. The whole point of the Guru devotion is to realize the three bodies of the Buddha, and we do that through the blessings. You know, it's true. Buddhism is a very scientific tradition, and we have lots of logic and reasoning for everything. And I'm sure that at some time, maybe within my lifetime, the neuroscientists will prove the power of blessing. Because there is something that's it's a subtle thing, but I believe it's a physical thing, like some kind of thought wave that comes, that we actually, our subtle mind begins to resonate with the subtle mind of the Buddha. It's like, you know, radio waves or frequencies when it's like tuning in, you know, your mind, like when you tune into the radio to listen to Siliana, when you do Guru Yoga, you're tuning your mind to the radio of the Buddha. And so then it's a subtle vibration that comes that helps you to attain enlightenment by fine-tuning your subtle vibration with that of the Buddha, with your ordinary mind, with the mind of the Dharmakaya. And that comes through the blessing, and that comes through devotion. So this is why devotion is the root of the path. It's not some... I think we have some problem with it because of maybe other religions and growing up Catholic or something like that and thinking that it's something that we have to do. But it actually, I believe that, because I was a scientist before I got involved in Buddhism, and I really feel that the whole thing is quite scientific. So you can, you know, a lot of people go, oh, why do we have to do this devotion, faith stuff? But it is the heart of the path, and it is quite real. It's just very subtle. Just because we can't see something doesn't mean it doesn't exist. We don't see radio waves. We have Wi-Fi, we have all these things. They come magically. So why can't, you know, Dharmakaya be transmitted magically? It can. And so the mind of the Buddha, when we tune our mind to the Guru, when we open our mind to the Guru, when we pray to the Guru, and with longing, what we need to develop is, I want to realize emptiness. I want to realize bodhicitta. I want to realize renunciation. The juice that gives it that is your supreme desire. And desire, that kind of desire, as Holiness says, is extremely virtuous. There's nothing wrong with desiring virtue. Desiring virtue makes us happy. Virtue makes us happy. You know, that's what makes us happy. So Guru devotion is what makes us happy. So if we want to be happy, so Lama Chopa is a good thing, you know. And in the beginning, I can remember in the beginning, it's all this Tibetan and all this stuff, and what does it mean? Just like, but if you just be patient, you know, it will come. Yeah, Tiliana. The microphone for Tiliana? I'm not sorry, Tiziana, I'm a little bit space. No, oh, she's okay. So this whole week, this whole month is really about Guru devotion. That's really, it is everything. You know, Chinrezig is the Guru. We want to become Chinrezig, so we want to become oneness with the Guru. And we are incredibly fortunate. We have the Guru here with us, you know. And sure, you know, Rinpoche has an ordinary manifestation that we see. That's our karma, to see Rinpoche, you know, with stroke and with whatever we see. But, you know, beyond that, I mean, Rinpoche's heart, mind, essence is the Buddha. And if you tune into that, if you believe that, you'll receive that. And it will become your experience as well. And you can get, even in this retreat, you can get a glimpse of the mind of enlightenment. If you just tune your mind to that radio station, you know, to Radio Guru. Yeah, Radio Dharmakaya, you know. And some people get hung up on, you know, the Guru, and it's all religion, and this is too much religious stuff, and all this ritual. And, and I know that, I'm one of those people. But when you can get beyond that into the actual purpose, what it's for, what it does, what it does is it brings you peace and happiness and less grasping and less desire and less, I need this and I need that, And so if we can do a good job with this retreat, we're going to get as high as kites. We're going to have a really good time, So the whole thing is based, the whole thing is we need the Bodhichitta motivation because, Rinpoche is very correct. I was so pleased when he said last night, I'm really, really pleased when he said that, the political problems, the environmental problems, the social problems, all the problems we have, this is the solution. Because it is. When I was a young person, I'll just give you a little personal background. I was a young person during the war in Vietnam, and I grew up, and it was very, very difficult time in the United States. I mean, we had fighting in the streets, people were being killed, houses were being burned. It was war in our country. And it was like civil war. I mean, nothing like Iraq or anything. I mean, there weren't bombs, but. In my town, we had soldiers coming in tanks to stop the anti-war protesters. It was really intense. And I was a young person very involved in that. And finally I realized, that the whole problem is with people's minds. I mean, it just came to me. Nobody told me. I hadn't met the Dharma yet or anything. But I could see that the whole problem, everybody's side, the peace protesters, the war, the Vietnamese, the soldiers, the politicians, everything is because people didn't have enough loving kindness and compassion and tolerance and understanding. So Dharma really is the answer. And somehow, we need to take it out into the world. Here we are doing this very esoteric thing, Chenrezig and Lama Chopa and prostrations and this stuff that most normal people, they're like, what? But if somehow, some of us, we can get a taste, we can get the essence of it and bring it back out into the world. And it is starting to happen, Dharma is spreading. That otherwise, in fact, I wrote something down somewhere. I wanted to read this to you. Oh, we have to stop soon. When do we stop? 11? 10:30? No. I think we're supposed to stop now. 11. I think 11 we stop. So anyway, there's a lot of Americans have a kind of a romantic relationship with the American Indian, because they had such a noble tradition, such a noble spiritual tradition. Anyway, so there was one Chief Seattle. Seattle is where Sharon's from, the Pacific Northwest. And he said this maybe 150 years ago. So this is Native Americans. He said, "We are all children of the Great Spirit. We belong to the Mother Earth. Our planet is in great trouble, and if we keep carrying grudges and do not work together, we will all die." That was a long time ago, and it's just getting worse and worse and worse. So I was just really happy when Rinpoche started the retreat with bringing it outside of just Buddhism, because we have to bring it outside of just Buddhism, So anyway, that's my trip. I don't need to do that. But so anyway, so then I'll just spend a few more minutes tomorrow. What I thought to do, and I hope we have enough time, is to go through the sadhana in a very experiential way, so that you can, when we get to certain places, I won't have time when we're leading the sadhana because we want to spend most time reciting mantras. You'll know what to feel at that time and how to think about it so that you'll have an experience rather than just being intellectual, because we want everyone to have a real experience of Chenrezig here, okay? But before we do that, for the new people, if you'll bear with me, I don't know if you're bored or not. Is everybody okay? Is this all right? Yeah. Okay. I just wanted to go over a few concepts, like merit. We talk about merit, What is merit? Is it brownie points? I don't know if you have brownie points here. It's a little bit, a lot of people find that a very distasteful idea, merit. So I know that now we use the word positive potential. What is Alex Berzin? He uses some other words. What did I write down? But the way I understand merit, because I studied physics, I don't know how many of you have studied physics. I didn't study much physics, but a little bit. And they talk about energy, and we have, everything is dependent on energy, and we can see that. There's potential energy, and there's action or kinetic energy. And potential energy is like the force or the power that's in an object. And that determines how much action it has, right? So if you think about two balls at the top of a hill, right? One is made of lead, and one is just a rubber ball with air in it. And it's a long hill, and you let them go at the same time. The one with lead is going to go way down the hill because it's very heavy. And the one that's very light, it could get blown away by the wind, right? So the way I understand merit, it's like you're making that ball very heavy, so that then when you want to expend that energy towards virtue, you have a lot of energy for virtue. So they describe it like a bank, like when we this is why we motivate and we dedicate. Because if you're new people, you understand the most important things we do is we motivate in the beginning and we dedicate at the end. And the reason we do that is because when we motivate with bodhicitta, if you think about, okay, I want to do something for one person, that's just, say one person, weighs 1 ounce, right? That's not going to be a very heavy ball to go down the hill. But if you're motivating for 100 billion people, that's 100 billion ounces. So that's going to be a very powerful amount of power to go a long way. So that means that when we motivate for all sentient beings, the amount of power and virtue we have is so much more powerful than if we just do it for ourselves, right? You follow me? Is that making sense? So this is how I understand merit, because then when you dedicate, we dedicate that merit, and that's when we decide where that ball is going to go, right? We motivate and we dedicate. We say, okay, I'm sending that merit for the enlightenment of all sentient beings. And so then you just relax. Naturally, your karma will take you there. If you sincerely dedicate to something you want to see happen, and you create the cause for that by making the merit, then you just relax, because it will happen. It's the law of the universe. It will happen, because we're human beings are no different than flowers and trees and plants. It's nature. It's science. Mind is just it's another aspect of organic beings. So if we focus our mind in a certain direction, it'll just go there. So in a way, we don't have to push. We don't have to struggle. We don't have to I have to get there. All you have to do is motivate and dedicate and request to the Buddhas, you request to the universe that I want this energy to go in this direction. So kind of the main essence of Dharma is motivating, dedicating, and requesting how you want it to go. So if you say, I'm motivating, I'm dedicating because I want to finish the master's program, and you do that all the time, then you don't have to worry. You will finish the master's program. You don't have to worry, I'm going to finish, how can I finish, If you really motivate well and dedicate well, you just relax, and life will take care of itself. So that's the nice thing about Dharma, is it can actually, rather than have Dharma make us more tense, because it does for many of us, Dharma should make us more relaxed, because we can have faith that it's scientific. Karma takes care. All you have to do is be very clear about your motivation and your dedication and what you want. So this comes to be very important in this retreat, because we will motivate and in the dedications, and that's why Rinpoche's dedications are so extensive, because he makes so much merit every day, and he's dedicating it, making it sure it goes exactly where he wants. So I really believe, if you're dedicating, if there's someone here who's sick, someone who's having problems, you dedicate the merit, it will reach that person, Oh, also, that's something I remember. We're going to have a list of people to pray for. So I think if you... Yeah? Where is it? There's a book out there for if you have a prayer list. And Rinpoche knows, Rinpoche gets told, so, if something happens in the retreat, you put it in the prayer list, or people we need to pray for. So these are the main concepts I feel, There's Guru devotion. We have to understand Guru devotion for this to work. We have to understand merit, motivation, dedication, requesting. Then a little bit on maybe the 3 principal aspects of the path. We can talk about that forever. But the way I think about it, in my little simple mind, is we have renunciation, which is giving up on this life, We decide that we're going to give up on this life and attain enlightenment for all sentient beings. But it doesn't mean you don't take care of yourself. Renunciation is not about an excuse to be mean to yourself. I see that all the time. Unconsciously we do that. Renunciation, His Holiness says, renunciation and bodhicitta are the same thing. One's facing out and one's facing in. One is compassion for yourself, one is compassion for others. So, and emptiness, well, Rinpoche is going to be telling us more and more about emptiness. That's something that we need to understand. I'm not going to go into it too much now, because we will every day we'll be meditating on emptiness in the sadhana. But we all have some idea, that it's all an illusion, it's like a dream, doesn't exist from its own side. This is what frees us from samsara, is the idea that things are not fixed, everything arises in dependence upon everything else. So I like to think of them as loving yourself, loving others, and letting go. Because emptiness is what allows us to let go. It's all empty, so who cares? I'm empty. Big deal, okay? Let go. And the more you meditate on emptiness, the more you find that space, the more relaxed your life is, because who's having a problem? Problems manifesting, who's having problem? Can't find the problem. So letting go. So as much as you can, this retreat, just let go and relax, Then you have a good time. Okay, well, I have one more concept, and then we'll stop. I think that's enough. We have this idea that Olivia introduced about divine, I call it divine dignity. I think divine dignity works for my mind better than divine pride. Because pride is a delusion, and even though we say divine pride, it still kind of doesn't really work for me. Because dignity gives me a sense of, oh, right. I can't really explain what dignity means, but it means something to me that it's like you're rising above samsara. It's the letting go part. Because actually what divine pride is emptiness. So when you have let go of your ordinary appearance and concept, you can rise to the occasion of virtue. You can engage in virtue when you let go of your ordinary appearance. It's much easier. What brings us down, what brings us into that fighting and, worry, is when we feel we exist from our own side, when we have that's what brings us down. So if we can remember the emptiness, then out of the emptiness comes the dignity, and so then you float above the grasping, So we're going to work on that in this retreat quite a bit, this experience of letting go. And because right now, our I is merely imputed on 5 contaminated aggregates controlled by delusion and karma. That's our I, all the time. You know, even when we meditate on emptiness, we get some intellect. But what we want now, we're going to have purified aggregates, emptiness. Merely, my sense of I is merely imputed on the experience of not finding this extreme I. You know, purified aggregates, purified into emptiness, purified into, you know. And in the beginning, it's okay to just think about space. Lama used to say that, didn't he? He said, you can just relax. You know, we don't have to be too intellectual about emptiness in the beginning. Just think of space, you know? Just that place in your mind when maybe there's no thinking, when you're really relaxed. And then, because if we try too hard to get emptiness, we just get more tired, you know? And anyway, so I mean, but we'll do meditation on that. So anyway, so divine dignity is the new I, your new sense of self, that's not based on ego grasping, but based on emptiness. And then the clear appearance is what we visualize. So it's sort of like subject and object, you know. Our subjective experience is emptiness, the deity, and the objective, instead of just this ordinary place with all these nice people, we see them all, we realize that it's all an illusion. We realize that the view that we see, that what we see, we try, the idea is to take the inherent existence out of it, you know? Like as Rinpoche says, first comes the appearance, then comes the appearance of existing from its own side, and then on top of that is the concept that the appearance of existing from its own side truly exists. But what we're going to be trying to work on here is that the appearance is a false appearance. Because we have this mind, that we have these 5 aggregates, and our mind, we just naturally register inherent existence when we see, touch, taste, hear, feel. That's the problem with being a human being. You know, it comes to us, it filters through us. Our experience is seeing things out there. So, you know, when I used to have a hard time, like, what does this mean, everybody's deities and this place is a pure land? I can't see that, you know. But what I can see, what I can begin to work on, is that what I do see, what's existing from its own side, is wrong. It's just something that's coming because I have this human body with this eye, this ear, this nose, you know, they're like faulty sense faculties, you know. If we had the pure faculties of a Buddha, it wouldn't be registering out there, you know. So as much as we can, in the break times, we want to remember that what I see isn't real. You know, what I experience isn't real. I see it, it's there. It's not that it's not there. It is there. But the fact that it seems to exist out there without dependence of arising on its parts, its conditions, in my mind labeling it, you know, all those things come together, but it's not how it appears. So when we think about divine pride and clear appearance, so the clear appearance is the objective experience, you know, what it is that we experience. And in the text it says, you know, everything's deities, everything's the mandala. Well, maybe eventually we'll get there. But right now, you know, at our level, we at least, as much as possible, just remember that it's not how it appears. You know? So we work on that. And then, yeah, I think maybe that's enough. And also I like, I can't remember what Lama, maybe it was Trungpa Rinpoche, said, you know, it's not the movie that's the problem, it's the projector. So, you know, just think it's all a movie, you know, but it's my movie. And I think another thing that's really helpful to understand in a retreat like this is that my movie is not that person's movie. We all have our own movies going on here. And so when somebody else sees a different movie than you see, you don't try to force your movie on that person. because it's their movie. And so what we try to do is have tolerance and understand that everybody's got a different movie. We all have different karmic conditions. We all have different personalities. And so the best way to get along in a retreat like this is just let go. You know, you see somebody doing something weird, oh man, they're just doing their movie. You know, because we will. We're all going to be together. Things will come up. Also, in retreat, a lot of stuff comes up. You know, I left out that. Purifying and accumulating. Those are other really important concepts to understand is Sangye. Rinpoche says this a lot. That the whole point, I mean, I was talking about merit, but how it works is, you know, in order to create these causes for enlightenment, we have to take away the negative things and add the positive things. So it's sort of like if you had a garden and it was full of weeds and you want to grow flowers. Well, first, you have to take all the weeds out. So that's the purifying. And then you have to fertilize it by making requests and making offerings and fertilizing, you know. And then, so that's purifying, bringing the thing. Then you plant the seeds. So it's almost like purifying is taking out the weeds, and doing practices is fertilizing. You know, doing like the practice to accumulate merits, like reciting mantras and seeing yourself as the deity. That's fertilizing the ground. But then the request, when you say, you know, oh, please, I want to become like my guru, you know, that's planting the seed. And so all you really need to do in a retreat is just show up every day and water that garden. You just, you know, it's not a big deal. You just have to show up. Maybe you don't feel so good that day, but just come. Just come. And maybe you don't feel so good, but just sit there and let everybody else do the recitation. And you can sit and listen. That's okay. But when you get to the mantra time, then you rise to the occasion and you say the mantra. Because, you know, what's really important in a retreat, too, is we all participate as much as possible. I know it's difficult. We may have some late nights with Rinpoche. I don't know. But if you can come, even if you just come and kind of sit there, you know, it's nice if you can come. But on the other hand, I know sometimes you need to rest. So it's okay if you need to rest. Just take time to rest. Don't push yourself and get sick. But try to come to the mantras, counts, and try to come to Rinpoche's sessions, and just do the best you can. So, did I leave anything out? Isn't that sort of the main things? Purify, accumulate? Oh yeah, well that's what I was kind of getting at. Yeah, so Sarah's saying Lojong, mind training. Well, that's kind of what I'm talking about with the it's my movie, it's my projector. You know, so the main thing we need to be thinking about is what Rinpoche said last night. And my movie, you know, that's essentially what he's saying, is that everything comes from my mind. So I think the most important thing, you know, for me, I think my favorite teaching in all of Tibetan Buddhism is the 7-point mind training, you know, Geshe Chikawa. And Rinpoche said last night, you know, put all the blame into one and meditate on the kindness of all. So when you have trouble coming up, you know, just realize it's not put on the blame with the shame, I'm bad, I did some bad karma, now these bad things are happening to me. It's not like that. Forget all that. We don't need any of that Judaic Christian guilt, shame here. It doesn't exist in Buddhism, so please leave it at the door. Work on loving yourself. But when things happen, you have to realize that it's just my movie, you know? It's my karmic vision. I'm seeing this person acting like an asshole. Okay. I'm not going to try to force them to be how I want them to be. You know? I need to create the merit to have nice people around me. It's like that, you know? Rather than trying, what do they say, you know, the classic thing, you know, you don't put the leather on the world, Shantideva said, you put the leather on your own feet. So as much as we can, you know, and you know, when you're starting to get kind of gnarly and, you know, you find you're a little bit irritable, just take a nap, you know? I mean, we're just like 5-year-olds, you know? When we're tired, we can't control our minds. I'm the same, you know? Yesterday I barked at somebody, you know? I was just like, I'm so sorry, you know? I mean, we just have to really take care of yourself, you know? And, I don't know what else to say other than just do your best, show up, do your best, and don't worry, you know. just take it easy, have a good time. And tomorrow we'll do some meditation practice with the sadhana. Is that okay? Any questions? Anybody want to? You can add things. You know, I don't know everything. I'm just saying yes.
Could you just repeat your version of the three principal aspects of the Tao?
Oh, she said, could I repeat my version of the three principles? I said, loving yourself, loving others, and letting go. Anybody else? Question? Yeah.
I have a question for people that want to join from home.
That want to what?
The people that want to join the retreat from their homes. Is there any way, or it has been explained how to do it? Because some people is asking.
It's on this website, I believe, how to join. FPMT website, right? Everything. Yeah.
All these explanations that have been given by Venerable Olivier and Paula streaming now, and so the people that can actually look at this, and so they can download the short version of the sadhana, and it is already online, I think, both for Italian, English. I think I gave everything, French and Spanish. We have all, and so they can download it from the website. And so then people who don't know, they can actually watch also afterwards, they can watch these videos. The streaming is about the teaching of Olivier yesterday and Paula today and tomorrow. The question and answer with Venerable Olivier will not be streamed, but there will be the recording of the audio that people can download afterwards as a podcast.
So is it on FPMT website as well as Lama Chopa website?
And it is FPMT website,
yeah.
And each language, because of these 3 days of teaching, there is the English, the Spanish, the French, and the Italian. And so they can choose and watch also afterwards. And
please encourage your friends. You know, we have. I would also like to ask that during this time when you're here, to refrain. Write one of those automatic replies on your email. I'm in retreat. I'm not doing email for a month. You know, if you have children, that's an exception. You have old parents, that's an exception. But you know, in the old days, we didn't even write letters in retreat. You know, and now we can write 100 letters a day. So I'm really requesting you. You know, really decide to do retreat. And that means no texting, no emailing, you know, just be here and be with your mind and give yourself a chance. It's such a precious opportunity. The rest of the time your mind's going nuts. This world's gone crazy with so much distraction. This is your one opportunity, you know, to not be distracted, to look at your own mind. So please, you know, just tell everybody you'll email them in a month. Too bad, you know, unless it's really important. But however, before you do that, please email all your friends and say, please join us, because we have to say 100 million monies, and as many people coming from outside will be really helpful. So, and I think it explains how to do that. Yeah. Okay, any other questions? Rose?
I was only wondering if there are periods where this room isn't being used, can we do our practice here?
That's a good question. Can we count more monies if we come in and sit on our cushions? She's saying you can lengthen your sessions, but I would also think, because you can do this in other retreats, that you could do a short session here.
Once you add sessions, you must continually do that number of sessions. You can't drop one session. If you do that, you would still offer those mantras.
Okay, what she's saying is if you want to do an extra session in here, that you have to, if you decide to do an extra one, you have to do it every day. Wait, why don't you have the microphone? Let Sarah explain, because she's done a few of these before.
Excuse me, I've still got the microphone. I just want to, what I wanted to know was, can I do my own practice
Sorry.
in
Yes.
here
Yes,
if it's
yes,
not
yes.
being used?
Yes. You can come here to do your own practice.
Okay.
That's why we want to keep silence in here.
Okay, thank you.
But this is also another question, is if we wanted to extend and say more manis, how we go about doing that.
So maybe just making this really clear. There's two possibilities here. So one possibility is you're coming, you just want to enjoy the retreat, you'll be doing the 2 money sessions, and during those sessions you'll be counting your mantras and offering that to the 100 million money retreat. Another possibility is you've come along with the idea that you'd like to complete, for example, 600,000 monies, right? So 100,000 for each syllable. In that case, if you found that you weren't able to complete that number in the 2 sessions, and you wanted this to be a Chinrezig retreat for 600,000, then you could lengthen your session by coming earlier, doing the preliminaries yourself, or lengthening it at the end of the session by staying longer and doing the dedication prayers yourself, not when the group dedicates. Or you could add another session. But the thing you have to know is that if you add another session because you want it to be a Chinrezig retreat with the completion of a certain number of mantras, you cannot then withdraw that session and go back down to 2 sessions or 1 session. So is that clear? The number of mantras you count within a session, if it's simply for the money count, there's no problem. But if you're doing this as a strict Chinrezig retreat, you can't alter the number of sessions. Once you're doing 2, if you then increase to 3, you can't then decide, oh, today I won't do 3. I'll just do 2. So this is just standard retreat practice.
But Paula said if you are tired, you can take a rest. What about that?
There's no contradiction. There's no contradiction. If you are tired and you want to take a rest, and you're just doing the 2 sessions, as long as you keep those 2 sessions going, there's no problem. Take a rest some other time. If you are doing, trying to complete, in Vajrayogini, some people wanted to do 1 million money. Rinpoche might encourage it, I don't particularly encourage it, because it will make you really stressed. You start focusing on a mantra count, which is too much for the retreat, you'll get stressed and you'll only be thinking about counting mantra, which is maybe not the main point. But if you do want to have a certain mantra count, once you have 2 sessions or 3 sessions of the mantra, you can't skip those. You have to skip some other thing. And I don't encourage skipping anything. I'm just trying to explain. There are 2 ways you could approach this retreat. You could approach that you personally want to do 600,000 mantra. Okay, you could approach that you're just going to come along and enjoy the retreat, and however many mantras you do in the sessions, fine. And it could be that as we start monitoring the mantra, it could be we get to the 3rd week and we realize we've only got 50,000. Now we're going to have to all just lengthen the session to complete the final 50,000. And then we'll all have to do that. But that is something different because we're doing it together as a group thing rather than an individual thing.
Mm-hmm.
Is that
yeah,
okay?
No, that's clear.
Yeah.
That's clear to me anyway. But we're not doing a 5 puja, are we? Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. I think my understanding is there's some people here who haven't brought access to the internet, fantastic, and other people who are very wary about going online.
Yeah.
Because the minute you open up the computer or your phone, then, it's very tempting to do other things with it. Can we devise a way to be able to hand in our mantra count once a week, and then maybe people take it in turns, some very kind people to put them into the computer on our behalf?
Yeah, that's a great idea. I think we can just, yes, why don't you give them all to me every once a week, and I'll give them to Elisa, and then we don't have to go online at all.
I'm just thinking of something as
good idea,
as retro
Alison.
as a big piece of paper.
Okay, somebody. We'll figure it out. That's a great idea. Yeah. Yeah. Did everybody get that? What Alison said? Did everybody hear what she said? She said that so that we don't have to have the temptation to go online once a week, because I just said, please don't do that. She's thinking ahead, which is great. She said, why don't we just do it all manually and give it to someone else who can give everybody's online. So once a week, we'll make it Saturday afternoon at the end of the session. Maybe you just, everybody write down on a piece of paper and we'll give it to whoever wants to volunteer to be that person. Oh, there's a place to do it there? Yeah, and then one person, maybe Elisa, or we'll figure out who, we'll log it into the website. That's a great idea. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because I didn't even, I wasn't even planning to do that, so I didn't know. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, my question is, how do they count when somebody is doing it from home? I don't understand.
I think it's on the website. You say, you can log in on the website how many you've done that week, just like here.
But you don't have to do it in the session then, no?
No, they have to do sessions too, but they don't have to do sessions with us, but they have to do a session a day.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, one session is enough. One session is enough to participate if someone has time to do one session a day.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Sorry to be technical, but my question is,
Can you turn up the mic? I have a hard time hearing these people. Yeah.
My question is, if you want to accumulate a certain number of mantras for yourself,
yeah,
as a part of this retreat,
mm-hmm.
and I say I do 3 sessions a day for the mala count, does it have to be in the same spot, or can I do the extra session?
It has to be on the same spot.
Yeah, that's what.
All the mantras have to be on the same cushion, on the same spot, in any retreat. Yeah, I think if people are doing from home, I think they have to do a session every day. It can be a short session. Oh, Sarah, we're just saying how people can do it at home. Okay, Sarah's saying people at home, maybe they don't have to do a session a day. They can just do some on the weekend. Why not? Let's make it easy. Yeah, just for the mantra count. If people can, they have to do it within the sadhana. They can make it short. They can shorten the sadhana as short as they want to make it, because there's ways to make it short if you read it. And then whenever they can, we won't say once a day, because they're coming from home, they work. So if you can do it on Saturday or Monday night, whenever is good enough. Okay? So please tell your friends. And
Paula, something else. A number of the people are coming to the retreat here for maybe just 1 week or 10 days and then going home. So that's important information.
Yeah, well, if you're only here, this is why we recorded this talk and Olivier's talk, and especially tomorrow describing the Siddhana, because there will be people arriving, and it'll be nice for them to get this background information if they need it. I mean, the old students, they don't need, but, So, but I guess if you do leave after a week, you could continue to do a session at home and continue to count if you want to. So, we just want as much as possible. Yeah. And then you can change your seat. It's okay. You just start a new seat when you go home. Yeah. Okay, what Sarah just said is that because we're doing this as a personal retreat, is why we need to accumulate for our own merit, we need to sit on a seat. But if we're just doing it to offer, it doesn't matter. So that's why those people can move around. Well, can people not here then do it on the tube? I mean, can people who aren't here in this retreat, can they count their mantras on the underground when they're going to work?
They do an entire session on that seat.
Yeah.
They do an entire session sitting on the underground.
Yeah. Okay. So what Sarah's saying is that for people who aren't here, as long as they do one session on one seat, it doesn't matter where that seat is. It can be on the London Underground, it can be at their grandmother's house, it can be anywhere, as long as they do one session. And so, yeah, but you can make it short. If you look at the book, I'll show. We'll see. It says, if you can skip this and you can skip this. So just skip everything. You can do just one prayer for the lineage lamas. You can do one prostration prayer. You don't have to do all the prayers. Yes. Where there is? There is a short sadhana online for people who aren't here. I'm just learning these things myself. Great. There's a short sadhana online for the people who aren't here, and they can do that anywhere, anytime, as long as they do it from start to finish in one place. Okay? Va bene?
Great.
Yeah. Any anche questioni? Yeah. No, this is retreat for us. We're talking about other people. See. Okay, sorry, I didn't go over that. I'm sorry. Okay, so the schedule, as far as I know, I don't have it in front of me, but we start at 6 to 7:45 with Lama Chopa and 35 Buddhist prostrations. And then the next session is 9:30 to 11:30, is that right? 9:30 to 11:30, we do 2 hours of Chin raising. And then, for those who want, we do Qigong for half an hour. And then at 2:30 is Olivier's review for 1 hour of Rinpoche's talks. And so he will give a review and answer questions. And then from 4 to 6, is that right? 4 to 6, we have another 2-hour Mani session. And then Rinpoche comes at 7:30. And what we'll do is we'll start a Mani session, because Rinpoche can come anywhere between 8 and 9, or who knows when Rinpoche will come. So we will start our Mani session at 7:30, and then Rinpoche will come. And either we will just not do it that day, or he might do it with us, or he might talk and then finish with us. And we don't know what Rinpoche will do. And we're not doing protector prayers, Rinpoche said, but he may decide some nights to do protector prayers. So he's actually, I thought, very kind. Rinpoche's made it, he's shaved off things. No protector prayers, no morning prayers. So it makes it less for us to do, so we can be a little more rested and concentrate more on the manis. So Rinpoche is scheduled to teach till 10 o'clock, but as you know, it could go to midnight. But at Light of the Path, he didn't go much past midnight. So I feel it's okay then, if we can get 5 or 6 hours of sleep, and then there's enough time to take a little nap, I think we'll be okay. We'll check. I'll check in with you. Is everybody okay? So hopefully it'll be all right. How many people are staying for the whole month? Oh, that's great. That's really great. Well, thank you so much for coming. It's really, really, really wonderful. And one other thing I just have to say before we stop is about retreat in general, which is that the break time is still retreat. And what happens in retreat a lot is that you work really hard in the retreat time, in the session time, and you concentrate really hard and you work really, and then in the breaks you're just exhausted. And all you want to do is go have a coffee and talk to your friends and just, So the idea of a retreat is it's 24 hours. So we don't need to work hard in the session time. In fact, the session time, we should sort of just coast along, In fact, if you just want to listen to me or listen to whoever is your translator sometimes and not do all the reciting, that's okay. I think that's perfectly okay. Particularly, maybe not with the chanting, but when it comes to some of the descriptive parts of the sadhana, because I really encourage you to relax, because it's a long time, it's a month, we're reciting mantras, we'll talk more about Lung tomorrow, but we don't want people's minds to be tight, so just relax. You don't have to say the mantra very fast, just say the mantra as best you can. And then about the mantra, we do have to actually say the mantra, but you should make it so quiet that the person next to you doesn't hear. There's nothing more distracting than someone next to you going, so it's just very, very quiet. You don't really have to even whisper, you just make the breath, So then in the break time, then you want to keep your mind quiet, relaxed as much as you can, and remember to try to do the mind trainings Rinpoche's taught us. Either the mind trainings, the sutra mind trainings, like, when I go up the stairs, I'm going up to enlightenment, when I'm opening the door for all sentient beings, or I'm closing the door on the lower realms. Those kind of mind trainings, or or for me, a lot of times I can't do that, But at least as much as we can, just remember that, what we see is like a dream, it's like an illusion. The I is like an illusion. I am the deity, I am Chenrezig. And really try to develop a feeling of what it would be like to be Chenrezig. Because deity yoga is all about imagination. It's all about imagining what it would be like to have so much virtue that there's nothing in your mind but effortless compassion benefiting sentient beings from a sense of I that is not grasping at inherent existence. Imagine what that's like. So in the break times, as much as possible, it's like acting, It's like being a really good actor. Just pretend, I'm Chenrezig. Just try, and a lot of times we have forget all this low self-esteem stuff, just be present, and that's the other thing, just try to be aware and present and relaxed and open. So let's not crowd with too much things, I'm the same, So the break times are really important because what happens in the break time influences your session time. If you go out on a break and go blah, 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 and email, da, you come back in the session time, you can't concentrate at all. You waste your session. So just remember, it's about the whole, and when you, all these things I forgot to, when you go to sleep, you go to sleep with I'm the deity going to sleep, you can go to sleep with your lap in the head of the guru, thinking about compassion, thinking about all sentient beings. When you wake up, you become the deity. As soon as you wake up, I'm Chenrezig. If you've had the empowerment. If you haven't had the empowerment, Chenrezig, my guru's on the crown of my head. As much as possible, guru's on the crown of my head. I am Chenrezig throughout the day. Eating yoga, putting on clothes. I'm offering, these beautiful diaphanous clothing to the deity. Washing. I'm offering bath to the deity. Brushing teeth. I'm brushing the deity's teeth. All these things, as much as you can, make every single action you do within the mandala. Okay, so now I think we need to stop. Everyone's tired. One more thing? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Sarah's pointing out something else I forgot. When we do retreat, I don't know so much, but if you're really doing retreat, you have a retreat mala that nobody sees, and you don't. It's not this one. This is what I call my street mala. This is my street mala that when I'm walking around, I can do my commitments, But when you actually retreat, as much as possible, you don't let anybody see the mala. So it's good to have if you don't have a zen, you can have it under here like this. Or a pouch people have in. And so if you only have one mala, maybe the store is going to make a bunch of money. It's good to have a separate mala. And you just use that for retreat. And when you finish reciting the mantra, you blow on the mantra. You blow the mantra in the mala, and the mala becomes very blessed. Great yogis, they can heal people with their malas. They just put malas on their head or their heart, and because there's so much power in the mala. Lama used to hit people with his mala. And you don't take it out of the room.
And then also, Priya, they would need a version bell, which is usually.
Yeah, I didn't even bring one. So if you have Dorjeen bell, bring your Dorjeen bell. But there's no Damaru in Kirtan. Yeah, so if you have, it'd be nice to have some little bells ringing. Maybe I can borrow one. Yeah. Both, but the books sometimes have to come and go. Yeah. So the Vajra and the bell and the mala, they always stay here, up here, and you cover them. That's the other thing. You need some kind of cloth so that nobody sees them. The mala, they can go in a bag, and the Dorjeen bell, you can put a handkerchief or something over it. And then once you've done retreat with a Dorjeen bell and a mala, those always become your retreat. Like I have 2 sets of Dorjeens and bells. I have one that's just my retreat one and one that I take to pujas. So it's like that. Okay, finalmente. Basta, yeah? So let's dedicate, okay? So whatever merits, whatever positive potential we've accumulated here today by talking about retreat and getting excited about doing retreat, we dedicate to the long life of our gurus, to the success of all the Dharma centers, for peace on the planet, for peace in the minds of all sentient beings, for all the beings in the lower realms to be released forever, for all homes to be peaceful and all children to be loved, and all the homeless have homes, and including the animals, and anyway, all goodness on the planet. And for wise, compassionate leaders to solve our desperate economic and social and climate problems. And ultimately, that we all can attain enlightenment, the state of Chenrezig, and lead all sentient beings, and particularly developing the great compassion, wisdom. And for Lama Tsongkhapa Institute to flourish. And let's rejoice in the merits of all the people who made this possible. And sealing with emptiness, myself, the merit, the object, with the act of dedicating, all arising independence upon each other, not existing from its own side, not myself, not the merit, not the beings, not the enlightenment, it's all empty. Ujjan chup sem chog rinpoche ma ke pa nam ke kyurchi ke pa nyam pa me pa yam kone gondu bel basho Gangri rawe kowe shinkam de pandan de wa malu jungwe ne chenre zigwang tenzin gyatsoi sharpe si te bardu tengyu chi. Ok, grazie tutti. And if you have questions, just write a question and put it on my little desk there, and I'll try to answer them for you. So, and thank you to everyone, especially Elisa and Sultram and everyone who made this happen. And also, I want to say one last thing. It's so nice to see so many monks. I mean, I always see nuns. I love, but in America, there's like one monk,